Get ready to hear some spine-tingling tales from America's favorite megastore. Tonight, we'll share 3 truly scary stories of terror lurking in the supercenter's shadowy aisles after dark. Midnight Menace. The automatic doors slid open, letting in a bitter gust of the cold night air as Jenna began another graveyard shift at the 24-hour Super Walmart. As a single mother working hard to provide for her young son, these overnight hours kept their little apartment safe for now, though their unpleasant reality loomed constantly in the back of her tired mind between every scan of a barcode. Restocking familiar aisles alone to the hum of refrigerators and flickering fluorescent bulbs overhead had become almost therapeutic in an odd way over the past few months. With the last straggling shoppers having cleared out by 10 p.m., Jenna could focus solely on finishing her tedious tasks so the morning crew could take over at the crack of dawn. Or so she thought, until this particularly chilling night introduced danger she'd never before encountered within these banally beige walls. About an hour into her shift, Jenna first spotted him slinking up and down aisles nearby. His bulging backpack and curiosity for her movements setting off immediate alarms. His uncontrolled curly hair seemed to have a mind of its own, mirroring the chaos she sensed brewing behind those intensely staring eyes. For over 30 minutes he danced along the periphery, never actually selecting any items from nearby shelves yet fully leaving the area. When he did finally approach with a sham question, Jenna struggled to hide her disgust toward his rancid breath clawing into her nostrils. Clenching her warehouse scanner until indentations imprinted deep within her clammy palm, she cautiously engaged the suspicious stranger. But his innocuous small talk rapidly decayed into deeply personal interrogations about her relationship status and background. Jenna managed to excuse herself initially after hastily scribbling down a fake phone number on his outstretched, grimy paw. However, her polite disengagement only seemed to further provoke his encroachment. He tracked her from aisle to aisle, firing off increasingly aggressive and threatening questions no matter where within the 182,000-square-foot store she sought solace. Utterly out of options, Jenna radioed for backup and hunkered down with colleagues in employees-only rooms, praying the creep would lose interest without her to harass further. But after finding her location for the 3rd time that night, Jenna decided to flee the area completely. Was her only hope for safety. Adrenaline flooded her veins as footsteps pounded behind, matched only by her racing heartbeat. This had escalated far beyond unwanted catcalling from some socially awkward trucker passing through town. Jenna felt certain bodily harm awaited if she couldn't make it outside soon. With freedom finally within reach, she turned briefly to find the man furiously rifling through that mysterious backpack mere feet behind. No employees left standing in his way. Jenna burst through the automatic doors into the freezing night, the sound of her pursuers' heavy footsteps growing fainter behind her. She sprinted desperately to her car, peeled out of the parking lot and drove directly to the police station. There she met with officers to report the terrifying encounter, providing details of the man's physical appearance and behavior. Security footage was reviewed which captured his face clearly on video to aid the investigation. An APB was put out, identifying him as a recently paroled sex offender now wanted for stalking and attempted assault. Several tense days passed as police tracked down leads on the man's whereabouts. Finally, acting on an anonymous tip, he was arrested just miles from the Walmart's location, that tattered backpack found to contain zip ties, duct tape, and other nefarious items, further proving his ill intent. The news of an arrest brought immense relief to Jenna, though she remained haunted by how close she'd come to a fate far worse than low wages and long hours. She soon found less dangerous work, leaving behind the midnight menace to hopefully rot indefinitely behind bars where he can never torment another victim again. Holiday horror. 14-year-old Lisa clutched her final paycheck from her part-time holiday job, eager to pick out a new outfit for upcoming Christmas festivities. Pennies were precious at that age, so Lisa often walked alone to the nearby Walmart right off Main Street to stretch her dollars further at the superstore. The route so familiar in her small hometown, she could practically travel it blindfolded at this point. On this particular trip, Lisa perused the apparel section, hunting for red and green bargains amongst the festive finds. She felt a sudden presence sidle up beside her and turned to find an older gentleman smiling kindly. Taken aback but not immediately alarmed, Lisa exchanged holiday niceties with the man who soon lamented how much she resembled his own daughter. However, the conversation flowed from cordial observations into increasingly personal inquiries about young Lisa's background and schedule. Though initially chalking it up to mere paternal small talk, warning bells soon sounded as she sensed scrutiny from his gaze. Lisa politely wrapped up the dialogue and headed to checkout, desperate to flee his escalating, eccentric vibe. Exiting Walmart, Lisa sought refuge among the busier mall crowds finishing up their gift gathering, but her solace soon shattered, catching sight of her odd acquaintance now closely shadowing her path through the festive decor. Panic rising, she hastily phoned her mother, who implored Lisa to duck into the nearest open store. Racing inside, Lisa nervously informed an employee of her frightening plight. Peering out into the mall common area, she identified the man to security, still brazenly pacing right outside the entrance and toying with passerby perceptions. Though unnerved to attract attention, a few patrons positioned themselves to help block his visual access to Lisa. The tense moments crawled awaiting Mom's prompt arrival. Thankfully, the added shopper presence seemed to dissuade any immediate threat from her unrelenting stalker. Lisa reluctantly recounted details to the authorities soon after about the traumatic ordeal. Terrified she had escaped some wicked intentions plotted specifically for this vulnerable holiday season. In the years since, Lisa solely ventures out for Black Friday bargains in the company of trusted others, but each cheerful jingle of a Christmas melody still manages to conjure up uneasy flashbacks of that seemingly harmless gentleman whose holiday cheer nearly cost Lisa her life. A nightmare reunion. If our previous tales weren't chilling enough, buckle up for the saga of Lindsay's horrific homecoming. This dedicated retail worker already dealt with more than her fair share of frustrating customers and exhausting shifts, but not even that experience prepared her for the blast from the past which turned Lindsay's reality upside down. You see, several months prior, Lindsay finally worked up the courage to leave behind a mentally and physically abusive partner named Casey. Their relationship hovered dangerously close to stalker territory as Casey tracked Lindsay's every move, paranoid about imagined slights and betrayals. Initially, after the breakup, Casey unleashed a barrage of unhinged emails and voicemails, ranging from desperate pleas to disturbing threats against Lindsay's life. Exhausted friends advised her to cut contact completely before things got worse. So Lindsay blocked Casey's number and social media accounts and even moved to a different city to start over. As the weeks passed, Lindsay felt herself slowly heal, working at a Walmart location mile from the past. She descended into a predictable routine of dealing with rambunctious kids, irate customers, and occasional shoplifters. It was just another average weekday shift for Lindsay organizing clearance racks when she spotted a familiar figure wandering the aisles. Lindsay froze momentarily, blinking slowly to ensure she wasn't imagining things, but Casey's shoulder-length auburn hair and sharp facial features came into horrid focus. Before Lindsay could slip away unseen, Casey rushed to embrace her. Lindsay nervously made small talk at first, hoping Casey might simply be passing through town, but the conversation rapidly shifted as Casey berated her for the disappearance act. Incensed anew, Casey caused yet another scene right there in the apparel section. Attempts to reason calmly only further enraged Casey, who began shouting accusations loud enough for the entire store to hear. Utterly mortified, Lindsay radioed her manager and retreated to the break room to avoid provoking Casey's fury any further. After what felt like hours of hiding, Lindsay emerged cautiously once more at the end of her closing shift. The coast seemed clear, so she raced for the comforting safety of home. However, Lindsay's terror was far from over. The sight of mysteriously unlocked doors and items clearly out of place told a sinister story. Someone had broken in. Lindsay's missing spare key and kitchen knife amplified the unnerving fear now gripping her. Certain Casey lurked inside, Lindsay urgently alerted her roommate and authorities while barricaded behind a locked bedroom door. Soon, police swept the residence to discover Casey on the attack once more. She now faces felony charges, but Lindsay admits no distance or consequence seems enough to stop Casey's crazed obsession. I wish we could end our evening safely within this. However, sometimes fact proves far more frightening than fantasy. What seemingly innocent items might your nearby Walmart be harboring within its cavernous square footage tonight? Renegade strangers, our backpacks full of binding and gags, deranged stalkers seeking sick satisfaction. I advise shoppers everywhere who get your groceries and get out, because you never know what sinister secrets may lie inside your neighborhood superstore once darkness falls. Who knows what, or who, is waiting inside those fluorescent aisles after hours for their turn to pounce. Now don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos.